Amazing, isn't it, that in 3 short years anything could become an institution? But take the word of producer Robert E. Peterson and Lee Ryan, managing director. That's exactly what has happened to their international Motorama. Almost before the doors of the Pan Pacific Auditorium in Los Angeles closed on the 1951 show, Peterson, Ryan, and the staff began preparing for the new edition, formulating plans, charting floor area, arranging the $1 million worth of exhibits to make the third annual International Motorama bigger and finer than ever before. It takes a full year to prepare Motorama, mountains of mail to be handled, thousands of inquiries from regular and prospective exhibitors, hundreds of phone calls. Then there are page spreads in trend magazines and others, news releases, mailing pieces. Truly a staggering detailed job, but every step vital to a well-run, successful exhibition. Then, almost before the staff could realize, it was November. Time to make the motor-conscious public of the Los Angeles area aware of the approaching Motorama. Posters, billboards, bumper cards, radio, all advertising media were employed. Now the committee faced a familiar impasse: space. Obviously, the huge Pan Pacific wouldn't stretch, but no one wanted to cut any exhibits. So what was the answer? A tent annex. Overflow displays under Barnum's Big Top, shown just as effectively as those inside. By the time the tent was up, exhibits were arriving. For safety, all gas tanks were drained and packed with dry ice. Inside the Pan Pacific, the sleek dream cars were wheeled into place and given last-minute once-overs by enthusiastic owners. And outside, one of the most talked-about cars in the show had arrived, the Cummins Diesel, the 350-horsepower Indianapolis Special, qualifier for pole position in the Memorial Day Classic at better than 138 miles per hour. Opening night, November 10th, and the crowds came, and how they came, thousands and thousands. Perhaps to view in person what the TV audience was seeing, a glimpse into the future of the family car. It's a well-known fact that hot rods and sports cars are frequently a decade ahead of Detroit in advanced styling and mechanical innovations. So the thousands and thousands of the general public who attended the International Motorama actually were seeing the kind of cars they would be driving in 1960. First night, second night, all week long, the same astounding story. The largest 7-day attendance in the history of the Pan Pacific Auditorium, confirming the reawakened public interest in motoring as evidenced by soaring circulation figures of Hot Rod, Motor Trend, Auto Sportsman, Honk, and other trend publications. NHRA and Speed Club members had trouble getting through crowds of laymen and their families for a look at prize-winning hot rods. Far from being a highway hazard, the custom speed job is now a respected member of the automotive family, often pointing the way for Detroit manufacturers. Yes, sir, none too old, none too young to enjoy Motorama. Here's the world record Class C Streamliner, 229 plus miles per hour, and a custom interior and beautifully simple, efficient dash panel, the equal of any fine car in the world. This Chrysler V8-powered Lakester turned 200 mph on the world-famous Bonneville Salt Flats. Yes, this third International Motorama had everything for the auto fan. Accessory and speed equipment manufacturers went all out in preparing interesting displays of how a hot rod gets that way, how expert young mechanics coax twice the normal horsepower out of a stock engine. Many hop-up innovations like high-compression heads and dual carburation and exhaust are now standard on today's fine stock cars. Of course, all the graceful forms and streamlined curves weren't confined to the cars on display. Dream jobs like this are always popular, too. Most of the fans who attended watched with keen interest at commercial booth demonstrations. Of all the hot rod clubs represented in the guest book of the NHRA, none is more interesting or inspiring than the Creeping Crips, a group of mechanical experts who refuse to let physical handicaps bother them. And attendants in the display of Trend Incorporated passed out thousands of sample copies of Hot Rod, Motor Trend, Auto Sportsman, and Honk. As expected, from opening night on, the Cummins diesel, with its 104 inches of sleek streamlines, tremendous power, and exhaust-driven turbo supercharger, was the cynosure of all eyes. But it had to compete for attention with hand-built sports cars, foreign racing creations, and those very popular 500cc racing cars from all over the nation. And there was competition, too, from the Motorama hostess, popular movie star June Haber, who signed autograph after autograph. This was one of Miss Haber's last public appearances before she retired from pictures to enter a convent. Another movie colony celebrity who was present in person was popular Keenan Wynn, son of the beloved comedian Ed Wynn, but a star in his own right. Mr. Wynn is an ardent motorcycle racer and auto enthusiast. Naturally, it was the display of the world's finest, fastest bikes that caught his eye. Manufacturers displayed cutaway working models. These showed the tremendous progress in the world of the two-wheeler. Motorbikes have kept pace in every way with their four-wheeled cousins. One motor, ridden by Louis Castro, turned 168.77 miles per hour as it flashed over the Bonneville Salt Flats last year. And not to be outdone, the little putt-putt has graduated out of the knee pad stage, too. Now it's a respected member of the motoring family. Of course, right now, he's more interested in that balloon. But it's 2-to-1 that in just a few short years, all these balloon holders will be souping up cars of their own. The motorbug is no respecter of ages. Once he bites, he bites. Motorama was like Old Home Week for the Southern California hot rod clubs. Sooner or later, old acquaintances were bound to meet face to face, some who hadn't met since Bonneville. Once they got together, every time trial and every drag meet had to be rehashed with gestures. Motorama spectators marveled at steel-bodied custom models like these, rebuilt from the ground up by hand. But wandering through the exhibit hall, it was possible for anybody to predict a new trend. A trend to fiberglass. Here are designer Vale Wright's ideas on the subject, a beautiful fiberglass body on an MG chassis. Henry Ford first experimented with the fiberglass body. After 10 years of experiments, these beautiful, light, dent-proof bodies will soon be mass-produced in Detroit. The new Kaiser sports car by world-famous automotive designer Darren was a genuine Motorama hit. Besides its low-slung fiberglass body, it features novel sliding doors. And how about Junior? Sure, he can have his fiberglass Sportster, too. After all, who else is going to buy these cars of the future but the future generation? So, somebody wanted a flying hot rod? So, Motorama's got it. Time out for the inner man and woman. Some of this crowd stayed long enough to pay rent. It was fortunate that the Motorama refreshment stands were well stocked. Otherwise, there might have been some starvation cases. Some of the cars on the exhibit floor could clock mighty good mileage, but they'd have a tough time beating out the souped-up popcorn chompers. No wonder some needed balloons to help them hold a soft drink. Now, here's a vintage job that's hotter than a red fire wagon. Matter of fact, that's what it was, a fire wagon. It doesn't impress the new generation much, but back in the days of the bustle, bunny hug, and bobbed hair, it was a real bearcat. This Mercer raceabout, especially if driven by a guy in a raccoon coat, was the answer to a maiden's prayer. Strictly the cat's whiskers. Not so long ago either, only 1920. Here's an old friend, the California Dew. Wonder how they're doing in the annex. They're doing fine. Even a leak in the tent can't dampen the crowd's enthusiasm. From the number examining the overflow exhibits, you'd never know it was raining. Lady, next time you're on a trip and you get irritated because your husband won't stop to rest, just be thankful his name is not Louis Matar. This San Diego service station operator fixed up his 1947 Cadillac added a special trailer, and drove to New York and back non-stop in 1 week. Still, the crowds came, more than anyone thought possible. Since the movie colony started the rage for foreign automobiles, the European sports and family car displays lured them like a magnet. Popular MGs, Ferraris, Fiats, Alvis, Jaguars, all the famous names in road racing, and comfortable, easy-handling, high-performing family cars. For instance, anyone with a bit of loose change in his pocket could drive this little number home. In the center of the Pan Pacific Arena, in the featured spot, was the Detroit star of the 3rd International Motorama, the Packard Pan American, a true custom car of tomorrow. Production of this big, low, roomy dream car is planned by Packard in the near future. The International Motorama showing was the first on the West Coast, and the response of the crowds to their creation certainly assured company officials that they had something. Unlike the futuristic models of other manufacturers, the Packard Pan American is designed as a possible production model, not just a gadget-loaded gimmick wagon or earthbound rocket ship. So, after 7 fabulous days and nights, the 3rd Annual International Motorama drew to a close. More than 121,000 avid motoring enthusiasts paid admission to see the $1 million worth of carefully selected automotive exhibits, the most unusual, most spectacular collection of motor marvels ever seen by anybody, anywhere. If producer Peterson or managing director Ryan needed further proof that their Motorama idea had come of age, they had it now. Here is the successor to the stock car shows of the 20s. Here is the proof that the public at large, too, has a tremendous interest in motoring for sheer fun. Just as Southern California gave respectability to the hot rod and developed motoring, custom sports car building, and time trials to a major hobby, so the Golden State has introduced this new kind of automotive show. It promises to sweep the country. Already similar shows are being presented in many large cities, including one in Detroit, traditional home of the automobile. In Los Angeles, planning has already begun to perpetuate this newest institution for another year, 1953. To reveal further milestones in stock car design, new body and mechanical innovations, and pointing the way to new horizons of motoring pleasure.